You are 7 years old, the first time you realize people don't mean what they say. Your mother tells a guest she's so happy you came, but her smile fades the second the door closes. Your father laughs at a joke he didn't find funny. You sit there, small and quiet, watching the difference between words and reality split open in front of you. That's the moment it starts. Most people grow up learning rules. You grow up learning contradictions. By 10, you've figured something out that takes others decades. People don't respond to truth. They respond to perception. And perception is flexible. You test it carefully at first. A small lie about homework. A subtle shift in tone when asking for something. You notice how your teacher softens when you sound uncertain instead of confident. You notice how your parents argue less when you position yourself as neutral, even when you're not. You're not trying to be manipulative. You're trying to understand control. At 12, you refine it. You learn timing. Not what to say, but when. You discover that silence is more powerful than explanation. That people fill gaps with their own assumptions. And those assumptions are usually worse than anything you could have said. So you let them. A classmate accuses you of something you didn't do. You don't defend yourself immediately. You pause. You let the room sit in discomfort. Then you respond calmly, almost disappointed. The accusation dissolves. Not because you proved anything, but because you controlled the emotional temperature of the room. That's when it clicks. You don't need to win arguments. You need to shape environments. At 15, it becomes intentional. You start studying people the way others study subjects. Patterns, reactions, weaknesses. You notice who needs validation, who fears rejection, who craves authority. Everyone has a lever. Most people never find it. You do. A friend starts confiding in you more than anyone else. Not because you're the kindest, but because you listen just enough and reveal just little enough to stay intriguing. You mirror their emotions, adjust your tone, and give them exactly what they need to feel understood. They trust you. Trust is not given. It's engineered. By 17, you're running social circles without anyone realizing it. You introduce two people knowing they'll clash. You plant a comment in one conversation that echoes in another. You never lie directly. You suggest. You imply. You guide. Conflict happens exactly where you expect it to. And somehow, you're never at the center of it. You're the one people come to for clarity. The neutral ground. The reasonable one. You've built influence without visibility. That's the real power. At 19, the game changes. You enter environments where people are smarter, sharper, and harder to read. University, internships, rooms where everyone thinks they're in control. Most of them aren't. You watch how ambition distorts behavior, how insecurity hides behind confidence, how authority can be bypassed if you understand what drives it. A professor favors students who challenge him carefully, not aggressively, but just enough to engage his ego. You become that student. Not the best, the most memorable. Opportunities start appearing. Recommendations, introductions, access. Not because you demanded them, but because you positioned yourself as someone worth investing in. You're no longer reacting to systems. You're bending them. At 22, you step into the real world. Corporate environments, negotiations, and power structures that look rigid from the outside, but are surprisingly fragile underneath. You realize something most people never do. Organizations don't run on logic. They run on perception, politics, and pressure. You adapt quickly. In meetings, you don't speak first. You let others reveal their positions. You map the room silently. Who agrees with whom? Who hesitates? Who dominates? By the time you speak, you're not offering an opinion. You're delivering a conclusion the room is already leaning toward. It feels natural to them. It's not. It's guided. At 25, you're no longer just influencing outcomes. You're shaping decisions before they're made. You learn to frame ideas so they feel like they originated from others. You ask questions that lead people exactly where you want them to go. You remove resistance before it appears. This is where most manipulators fail. They push. You don't. You create the illusion of choice. And people defend the choices they believe are theirs. At 28, the rewards are obvious. Promotions come faster. Relationships open doors. You're respected, trusted, and relied on. People describe you as calm, strategic, and insightful. They're not wrong. They're just not seeing the full picture. Because behind every calm decision is a calculated understanding of human behavior. Behind every insight is observation layered over time. You're not guessing. You're predicting. At 30, something shifts. Not externally, internally. You start noticing the cost. Every interaction is a calculation. Every conversation has layers. You don't just hear what people say. You analyze why they said it, what they want, what they're hiding. It never turns off. You can't just be in a moment. You're always above it, dissecting it. Control has become your default state. And control is exhausting. Relationships start to feel constructed. You know exactly how to make someone like you. Exactly how to maintain attraction, trust, and interest. But that knowledge creates distance. Because if you can engineer it, is it real? Or is it just another system you've learned to operate? At 32, you face the first real crack. Someone doesn't respond the way they're supposed to. You read them correctly. You apply the same principles. Timing, tone, positioning. And it doesn't work. Not because you made a mistake. Because they're not playing the same game. They're unpredictable, direct, unfiltered in a way that bypasses your usual strategies. They don't react to implications. They respond to authenticity. And for the first time in years, you don't have control. It unsettles you more than failure ever has. Because failure can be analyzed, improved, fixed. This feels different. This feels like a blind spot. At 34, you understand what it is. You've mastered manipulation. But you've underdeveloped something else. Genuine connection. Not the kind you simulate. Not the kind you construct. The kind that doesn't rely on control. The kind that requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is the one thing you've spent your entire life avoiding. Because it removes your advantage. It puts you on equal ground. And equal ground feels like risk. So now you face a different kind of decision. You can continue. Refine your skills. Increase your influence. Stay in control of every room, every conversation, every outcome. Build a life where nothing surprises you, nothing destabilizes you, and nothing escapes your understanding. Or, you can step into something you can't fully control. A version of yourself that doesn't calculate every move, that doesn't optimize every interaction, that allows uncertainty, imperfection, and even rejection. That choice is harder than anything you've done before. Because manipulation is a skill, but letting go of it, that's a risk. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. You didn't become a master manipulator because you wanted power. You became one because control felt safer than unpredictability, because understanding people gave you an edge in a world that didn't always make sense, because shaping outcomes was easier than dealing with uncertainty. And it worked. It worked so well that now you have to decide if you want to keep living that way, because mastery comes with a cost. The better you get at controlling people, the harder it becomes to know when someone is choosing you freely. The sharper your perception, the harder it becomes to experience anything without analysis. The more influence you gain, the more isolated you become from anything real. So here you are, not at the beginning, not even at the peak, but at a point most people never reach, where you understand the system completely and have to decide whether to keep playing it or step outside of it. Because the final level of manipulation isn't controlling others, it's controlling yourself, and that's the one game you can't cheat.